Most people believe they are reacting to life as it is, that what they see is what is actually there, that their interpretation of situations is accurate, that their frustration, confusion, or feeling of being stuck is caused by what is happening outside of them. But what if that's not true? What if the real issue is not what you're seeing, but how you are seeing it? Because there's a difference, a very important difference between sight and vision. Sight is immediate, it reacts, it takes things at face value. It says, this is what is happening. Vision is deeper. It asks, what does this mean? And more importantly, what am I not seeing yet? Most people are living from sight, not because they are careless, not because it is automatic. You wake up, you see your life, you see your problems, you see your responsibilities, and you respond to them immediately. No pause, no reflection, no distance, just reaction. And over time, it creates a pattern where life feels like it is happening to you, not something you are interpreting, but something you are surviving. That is where overwhelm comes from. Not because life is too much, but because everything is being taken at surface level without depth, without context, without meaning. Let's make this simple. Two people can experience the same situation, same event, same moment, same reality, but walk away with completely different internal experiences. One feels defeated, the other feels informed. One feels stuck, the other feels redirected. Same sight, different vision. So the question is not only what is happening to me. The deeper question is how am I interpreting what is happening? Because interpretation is where your life actually forms, not events alone, not circumstances alone, but meaning. And meaning is shaped quietly over time by assumptions you didn't question. For example, someone delays your message reply. Sight says they are ignoring me, but vision asks, is there another explanation I haven't considered? You fail at something once. Sight says, I'm not good enough. Vision asks, what part of this needs adjustment, not identity? You feel stuck in life. Sight says, nothing is working. Vision asks, what pattern am I repeating that I'm not seeing clearly? Do you see the shifts? Sight makes conclusions quickly. Vision stays open longer. And that difference changes everything. Because most of the emotional weight people carry does not come from reality itself. It comes from conclusions made too early. A situation happens, and instead of observing it fully, you assign meaning immediately. And once meaning is assigned, you stop seeing clearly. You start seeing through that meaning instead. That is how people get stuck. Not because they lack intelligence, but because they stop questioning their interpretation. So when someone says, I feel overwhelmed, what they often mean is not that life is too complex, but that they are processing everything through immediate interpretation without space. And without space, everything feels heavy. Vision requires space, space to pause, space to observe, space to not conclude too quickly. That is why two people can sit in the same environment and experience different realities. One is reacting, the other is interpreting. And this brings us to something important. You are not always reacting to life itself, you are reacting to your understanding of life. And that understanding can be incomplete, which means something very important. If your understanding changes, your experience changes. Not always your situation, but your relationship with it. And that is where freedom begins. Not in changing everything outside, but seeing differently inside. Because when vision begins to develop, you stop rushing to label everything. You start noticing patterns. You start asking slower questions. You stop asking only, what is this? And start asking, what is this connected to? That shift alone begins to change how you move through life. You become less reactive, less emotionally pulled by surface events, less convinced by first impressions, and more importantly, you become more observant of yourself. Because here is something most people miss. You are not only seeing the world, you are also seeing yourself seeing the world. And if that second layer is ignored, you assume your reactions are truths, but they are not always truths. Sometimes they are just habits, habits of interpretation, habits of conclusion, habits of meaning making too quickly. So the goal is not to stop seeing, it is to slow down how you see, to introduce space between what happens and what you decide it means. Because in that space, vision begins to form. And when vision forms, life stops feeling like random pressure. It starts to feel like information. Not everything will make sense immediately, but it will feel less chaotic because you are no longer trapped inside first interpretation. You are observing deeper, questioning more gently, seeing more layers. And that is where we will go in the next part. Because once you realize sight is limited, the next question becomes, how do you actually develop vision? And that is where everything starts to shift. Not outside first, but inside.